Hey everybody, TGM here. As you've undoubtedly figured out, this is a mental health update video. I've done a few of these. I promise to do more, and they're sort of meant to document my journeys through mental health this year. I do want to start with a very important disclaimer that if you are easily triggered by discussions about depression or anxiety or suicide, this is your opportunity to not watch this video. Those are the topics that we're going to be talking about. And I also really want to say to those of you out there struggling with depression and or suicidal thoughts, please find some help. The world is better off with you in it, whether you believe it or not. And there is love. There's all kinds of good stuff at the end of whatever road you're on. So please stay on the road. We love you. We want you to be a part of this world. Let's talk about some recent events in my life that have caused a bit of a breakdown. I am for those of you who know my story or don't know my story, my mental health has been diminishing for some time. I have a complicated past. I am actively pursuing some care and some therapy and things like that. But in the meantime, there are stumbles. There are bricks in the road or something. And I've stumbled over one recently, and so I hope to share these stories in so that other people can maybe feel better about their experiences, or maybe find a friend that's going through something and help them out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to talk about something that I'm calling shame spiraling. I think that is an actual term, but again, I'll find the correct terminology in therapy. So I want to talk about an emotional reaction I had and sort of the detrimental effects that it had on me and my activities in my life and things like that. So a cautionary tale, hopefully for folks, but a cathartic one for me. So a couple months ago, I had a very emotional, a very visceral reaction to some news from an ex. And it was an ex that I had ended things with and therefore didn't feel valid in having an emotional reaction to said news. And you don't need to worry about what it is. It's just, it doesn't matter. It was a trigger, as it were. And so I had this emotional reaction, and I remember actively thinking at the time, like, I don't get to feel this. I don't get to have this emotion. Like, logically, this doesn't make any sense. And so I think my knee-jerk reaction was to actively repress it. I remember like not feeling like I could really talk to people about it because it was that silly, and it was like I don't get to feel this. That really was the thought in my head. Well, the problem with your emotions is that your emotions are your emotions and your thoughts are your thoughts, and there has to be some resolution between the two of them, right? You need to process and deal with your emotions so that you can figure out how to live your life. You can't let them dominate you. And if you repress them, like I am prone to do, they tend to find their way to the forefront of your life, whether you're ready or willing to deal with them or not. And so this is the story of an emotion. And so I had this emotional reaction, and I can remember not wanting to deal with it and not feeling like it was valid in my head. And so I just kept going with my life, and I'm trying to make positive improvements in my life, better diet, exercise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm working on all this stuff, and things are going well. And I remember having a really good week and then having a really bad end of the week. And it was my own prickliness, my own, like, I was like punchy, like I had this this dumb trivial situation really got my dander up, I was like, ugh, like why? And I walked away from it going like, what the heck? Like why? Like normally on any given day that's not the type of thing that bugs me. Oh well, let's move on. Still not dealing with this thing, still not even connecting the dots that it's a thing, right? And unfortunately, the thing about emotions is if you don't deal with them, they kind of get the run of the place. They break out, like Motley Crue in a hotel room. Your emotions can just really wreck the room. And I don't know, maybe they're taking sledgehammers to the pillars. I don't know what you pick, whatever metaphor you want. But your emotions could really start to take a toll because, every day my emotions were like, hey, you wanna think about that thing yet? You wanna deal with that? You wanna process that? And I'm like, nope, I'm going over here. And eventually, that dynamic that those ill-fitting shoes have to resolve themselves, and eventually the emotion gets so loud that my ADHD brain takes over because my ADHD brain is super good at hyper focusing on stuff, and when I'm hyper focused on stuff, my brain is engaged and I'm super like into whatever I'm doing, and I don't feel those emotions. And that can manifest in all kinds of ways. It can manifest in really negative ways. I've talked about this type of stuff before in terms of like substance abuse, alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. It can also just manifest in like, I'm going to order 6 pizzas and eat 6 pizzas. I'm going to play video games for a week straight, et cetera, et cetera. That's usually mine. And I wind up doing, whether I'm aware of it or not, I wind up doing activities that are specifically geared towards not making me feel the thing that I'm feeling. But it takes a toll. It takes a toll on your body and your mind, because what happens to me, at least, is I go to bed. And guess what I'm doing in bed? I'm staring at the ceiling and my emotions are like, hello. And my thoughts are like, no. And you start to lose sleep, or at least I start to lose sleep. I start to, I start to wake up and have to repress things emotionally. And, again, a lot of this is in my subconscious. A lot of this that I'm able to tell you now is because I've gone, like, I'm really trying to be mindful, and I'm trying to like recognize these patterns that I have, and work through them. And so eventually it leads to this shame spiral, where the emotion, my physiology sort of falls behind my emotion, and my emotion takes control, and I shame spiral because the only work I've done to process that feeling is that I don't deserve it. I deserve to feel crappy. I deserve to feel terrible. I deserve to feel shitty. And that mentality starts to go around and around in my head. And that's where like shame spiraling comes in, because it's like, okay, well, this is your fault. You deserve it. And I truly, like, I start circling the drain emotionally. I really, really do. And I don't even realize that I'm doing it, because I make a small concession so that I don't have to like think about a thing. And then the whole day goes by, and then I'm like, still haven't dealt with the thing. And it's like, tick-tock, right? Like time goes on, and I become just a waste of space. I become someone who is refusing to process this thing that was actually valid, because guess what? Your emotions are valid. Your emotions are your emotions. That you can't, you don't have control over them. You have control over your thoughts, and you have control over the way that you like think about that reaction. But your emotions are your emotions. You have to process them. And so anyways, I had this, I eventually worked myself into just a total shame spiral of self-defeating behavior, and just my brain started just working in circles, and those thoughts perpetuate themselves, and they eventually, like, you slowly circle that drain. You slowly like find yourself, and like by the time you realize that something's going on, I'm like, holy crap, I am in a pit of despair. And no matter who's yelling at me, some of you that try to like communicate with me when I'm going through stuff like this, some of you that are trying to like reach out to me, I can't hear you. I'm at the bottom of a pit of despair. And eventually, through mindfulness and through basically a breakdown, I mean, I'm not proud of any of this. This sucks to have to talk in a microphone about, but like there was literally a day where like I woke up crying. Like I had been so low, my emotions were so low, and I just was not dealing with it ever. Like just escapism, that I like woke up crying. How pathetic is that? Anyways, there has to be resolution, and you have to get to that point. And so within the last few days, I finally kind of realized what was going on. I finally like started processing the initial thing, and then I was like, oh God, like look at these patterns. Like look at these patterns that are so easy to fall into. And that's something I'm fascinated by too, is just the neuroscience of it. And I'm very, very excited to get into therapy and start to learn about all of this stuff a little bit more clinically. But eventually, I worked my way out of it, and am able to process this stuff and communicate it with you all. But when I'm in that, it's so low and it's so dark that it's nasty. It's toxic behavior, and it's your own toxicity, and you have to flush it out somehow. And my most recent one was really, really dark, really, really dark. It's probably as dark as my thoughts have ever gotten, in terms of self-loathing, just hating myself. I've spent my whole life hating myself, and I think those of us who deal with this and who are that emotionally low, like we've gotten so used to it that I don't even recognize it anymore. It comes out in my language all the time, and I can't wait to get better because I don't want to hate myself. But when you hate yourself, you feel deserving of your negative emotions. And that is a self-perpetuating cycle that is really, really tough to get out of. So I touched the bottom. I touched the bottom. I touched the bottom of my emotional pool. It was really dark. I don't really want to think about it a lot because I was, for those of you who might be wondering, like, why can't you play the video game, nerd? Like, why can't you communicate with us? Why can't you get online? And it's like, when every third thought you have is you're a piece of shit, you should die, like kill yourself, etc., etc. And that's me talking to myself, not me talking to you. It's really hard to talk into a microphone. It's really hard to even just face the day. And that's truly the point I got to, where it was it's a breakdown. It is what it is. And it was triggered by a thing. And I'm learning how to measure that and recognize it and work my way through it. But it just got really, really, really dark. And it sucks. It sucks because it takes away from, I'm learning this term self-sabotage. I'm self-sabotaging everything. I self-sabotage my careers, my relationships. Every single time I push away the people that love me the most and who also that I love the most. I've done it in every single relationship my entire life. I always regret it. I always get to the other side and I find that I've misattributed issues that I think I have. Like, the problem is always me, right? So it sucks. So anyways, that's where I've been, and it's been hard. Please don't worry too much about me. The suicidal thoughts have diminished. I don't think I'll ever kill myself. I don't think you need to worry about that. But it's, it sucks when that's your ideation, and I can see how quickly it can go for people. Yeah. So that's shame spiraling. That's the story of an emotion. And now that I've processed the emotion, I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not totally fine, but I'm way more fine than I was. I'm fine at a level that I can talk to you all about this without totally losing it. So feel your feelings and process your emotions. Don't repress stuff. When people say to you, hey, I want to have a conversation about a thing, don't roll your eyes. They're reaching out to you to say, hey, we have to talk. And that those three words freak a lot of people out sometimes, but please don't let it. Catharsis, and this is where therapy, I think, is really going to help me, because had I had an active therapist that I'm meeting with regularly, I would probably have mentioned that triggering event, and I might have wanted to roll past it. But my hope is that a therapist might have been like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that thing that you just said. Let's dial it back. Let's slow down there, Haas. And so I'm really excited. Let's talk about some positive things. This video is also to update you in terms of content creation and where we'll be going in the future. Let's talk about some positive things. One, this is the end of April. It's been not the April I wanted it to be, but the best part of the month is that my family is coming into town. I have seen my family exactly once since COVID started. I love my family. They're very supportive. They're the best thing that I've had in my life in terms of I don't know, advantages and just I don't know, things that I love and appreciate. And they're going to be in town for like a week. So I'm going to take the next week. I'm going to soak up some love and try to refill those emotional coffers that are clearly very, very low. And then in addition to that, I am a week away from a primary care physician and a physical, which I don't think I maybe have ever had, which is going to lead us to therapy and mental health and all sorts of things that are coming up in the future, that are going to help me get better and help me get more consistent and help me behave the way that I would like to. Because unfortunately, like, my behavior is not what I want it to be. And I think that's part of the promise of therapy, is that, like, again, your emotions are your emotions, your thoughts are your thoughts, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But like, you can learn tools, tricks, tips, ways to behave in a way that I want to, right? Like, not better, not in that therapist's eyes. Like, no one's telling me to change. I'm coming in saying, hey, I want to change. I'm recognizing behaviors in myself that I don't like and I would like to go away. And so it's going to be a long, hard journey. I have trauma in my past. I have a lot. My brain is just a messy bowl of spaghetti. But I am actively working on it. I am going to get better. I have lots of aspirations in terms of content creation. But for the moment, my priority continues to have to be working on this and fixing this. You can't be a streamer content creator without having some sort of positive mental health, and so it's going to continue to be the forefront of my journey for now. And once we get that ironed out, I'm going to put everything I have into content creation. We're going to do cool things. It's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot better, which is not a thought I had a week ago. But I am going to get better, and I know I'm burning a lot of bridges. That's kind of my MO. Probably disappointing a lot of people. But be patient with me. I'm working on it. I really am. And I mentioned that I touched the bottom of the emotional pool. Let me leave you with this. I think hopeful thought in that when you touch the bottom of a pool as a kid, often the next reaction is to shoot upwards and fly out of the pool like Superman. And I hope that's coming for me. It has to. It simply must. And so that's where we'll be headed next. Thanks for listening to this. I don't know what else to say about it other than, that's the honest truth. I could not share this stuff, and I know it's not particularly charismatic, but I'd rather be honest. I'd rather be on honest ground with the community and with all of you people at large. So thank you for watching. I love you. I will see you all soon. I will return to content creation towards the end of the first week of May, or maybe the beginning of the second. We will see. Thank you for watching, friends. I love you. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Call your mom.